That's the jackass they sent to screw us!
Dismal reviews? Bad word of mouth? Or was this historical epic just a little too epic in length? Here's why Babylon bombed, and bombed big at the box office. Babylon had a production budget of $110 million, which probably has gone to the huge cast as well as the intricate and decadent set designs. Colorful and sweeping, the film features plenty of dizzying scenes of parties, revelers, and mind-numbing hedonism, which probably helps to explain where some of that budget went. Unfortunately, the movie didn't do great during its opening week, making a paltry $3.6 million in 3,343 domestic theaters. Although still freshly released in theaters, projections for Babylon are beginning to look quite abysmal. Although many outlets weren't exactly projecting a massive haul for Babylon, some expected the film to make at least its money back. In late November, Box Office Pro predicted that the movie would have both positives and negatives that may affect its financial prowess. On the positive side, Babylon is a prestige comedy with a star-studded cast. On the negative side, the early reviews weren't exactly the greatest, and historical films tend to be hit or miss with many audiences. They projected Babylon would make $429 million in its first week, with a grand total of between 18 to 39 million in domestic totals. Gaming Zion made a bold, although somewhat tempered bet on Babylon as well, saying that gambling experts predicted a $5 to $6 million opening weekend.
If I had money, I would only spend it on things that were fun.
As we mentioned earlier, some of the reviews for Babylon weren't exactly strong, which may have impacted theatergoers' willingness to brave the winter weather and catch the flick on the big screen. On Rotten Tomatoes, Babylon currently has a 55% critic rating at the time of this writing. In the review of the film, Salon claimed that Babylon is exhausting, finding that the movie tries to do entirely too much over its runtime, though ends up saying very little by the movie's culmination. Similarly, Splice Today wrote that the first 90 minutes of Babylon is a hit in the making, but unfortunately the movie continues on for another 90 minutes. Leonard Maltin offered a slightly more nuanced take on the movie and said, "I didn't love Babylon, but I can't condemn it either. How could I when its finale is a love letter to movies and the way they can lift our spirits?"
I think what we have here in Hollywood is high art.
Many critics have pointed out the exceptionally long runtime of the movie, which is 3 hours and 9 minutes of absolute heartbreak and debauchery. A daunting endurance experience for viewers, and one that may have proven to be too much for some. Speaking with Collider, director Damien Chazelle explained that editing the movie proved to be a difficult process, saying that many of the scenes were cut but eventually restored, and this became somewhat of a back and forth throughout post-production.
I've been working on this movie for almost 15 years.
Chazelle added that at one point, Babylon ballooned to 3 hours and 40 minutes, and that he and the editing crew had to chip it back down. Chazelle continued, "We definitely did not want it to ever feel like a 3+ hour movie. We wanted people to come out of it feeling like they'd been on an unstoppable roller coaster, and then be almost surprised by how long it was."
It's the biggest thing I've ever tried to do.
Another aspect that may impact box office performance for Babylon is the negative feedback loop created by articles claiming that the movie has bombed or is in the process of doing so. Nobody is exactly champing at the bit to go see a movie shrouded in negative articles, and one doesn't have to spend too much time reading the news to see what we're talking about. Deadline ran an article with a headline that claims that audiences were not jazzed for Babylon, and that the movie has failed to meet expectations, resulting in an unquestionably massive box office bomb. Variety and Vanity Fair also mentioned Babylon and its failure to generate significant revenue during its opening run. Even MovieWeb ran an article claiming that Babylon is the second flop this year for star Margot Robbie, noting that her ensemble movie Amsterdam was also a misfire. These are just a few examples, but it does highlight how negative press can have somewhat of a snowball effect.
If you could go anywhere in the whole world, where would you go?
Perhaps the biggest reason why Babylon hasn't attracted many large audiences comes down to one big blue reason. Despite the fact that the holiday movie-going experience doesn't exactly have too many adult-oriented movies currently available, the success of Babylon may have been hindered by the sequel to one of the biggest movies of all time.
Wow.
How do you boys do?
Sweating.
And she placed this in my dressing room.
Hola, Carmelita. Hola, Carmelita.